Chapter 38. Miracles deliver Hezekiah from death. As mentioned, Isaiah has been called a poor historian because he sometimes gets events out of order or records them incompletely. In the previous chapter, for example, he recorded the events incompletely, and now, here in 38, he seems to get them out of order. Why would he do that? You probably know the answer. The events in this chapter clearly happened 15 years before Hezekiah's death, which naturally would have put them before the previous two chapters, which happened toward the end of his life. So why did Isaiah place this account after those events? Because he's using it as a prophecy, not a history, which is recorded elsewhere. When Hezekiah had been king for 14 years, he became mortally ill, suffering from an ulcerous growth or boil. Bubonic plague produces boils or lesions in the skin that can be up to 4 inches across, and the plague leads to death very quickly. Whatever it was, Isaiah was instructed to go to Hezekiah and say, "Thus saith the Lord, set thine house in order, for thou shalt die, and not live." Upon receiving this news, Hezekiah turned his face to the wall and prayed in faith. "Remember now, O Lord, I beseech thee, how I have walked before thee in truth and with a perfect heart, and have done that which is good in thy sight." A prayer like this takes courage. Few people can honestly say, "I have walked before thee in truth and with a perfect heart." But because of Hezekiah's faith, his prayer was answered. Isaiah was told to go back to him and say, "Thus saith the Lord, the God of David thy father, I have heard thy prayer, I have seen thy tears. Behold, I will add unto thy days 15 years. Many people of faith have witnessed miraculous healings. But in this case, the miracles were not yet over. The Lord went on to offer a sign that Hezekiah might trust in Isaiah's words. God would cause the sun to go back 10 degrees, so that Hezekiah would see the sundial's shadow go backwards. This did indeed happen, and Hezekiah did live an extra 15 years. At least two extraordinary events occurred here: Hezekiah's extraordinary prayer of faith, and Isaiah's ability to receive revelation in the very hour it was needed. It's interesting to note, however, that this is the only instance when Isaiah's prophecy was not fulfilled as he said. In verse 1, he said, "Thou shalt die and not live." But because of Hezekiah's great faith, Isaiah was told to go back and countermand that prophecy with a new one. Hezekiah would not only live another 15 years, but he would be involved in saving Jerusalem from the king of Assyria. And of course, this did happen, as we saw in the previous chapters. Now, also out of order, Isaiah gives us a verbatim account of Hezekiah's prayer when he had been sick. From this prayer we learn that Hezekiah had at least two great regrets should he die. First, he said, "I shall not see the Lord, even the Lord in the land of the living." Hezekiah had a perfect heart, but he had not enjoyed the privilege of seeing the Lord in the land of the living. His friend Isaiah had, of course, received this great gift, and they had probably talked about it, and Hezekiah had desired this gift with all of his heart, but so far he had not received it. His second great regret was that he would miss the inhabitants of the world, especially his friends in this life. He knew a better world awaited him, but he would dearly miss the society of his friends here. We might note that although King Hezekiah was 39 years old at this time, he was still unmarried and had not produced an heir. This would have the potential of creating a crisis in the kingdom, something he surely wanted to avoid. In his prayer when he was sick, he said that his age is departed, meaning that his body, his earthly home, is leaving him, that it is blowing away like a shepherd's tent. The illness was very painful, and the Lord was making a quick end of him. He says that, like the tweeting of a bird, he chattered, perhaps in delirium, and like a dove, he moaned in pain. On his back, looking upward, he begged God for relief. Truly, he suffered. But then came the blessings. A book translated many years later stated that Hezekiah actually saw the Lord at this time. It says that in the 15th year of his reign, during his illness, he saw the beloved. Thus, this terrible illness may have led to the fulfillment of the great desire of his heart. As he says in the prayer, "O Lord, by these things men live, and in all these things is the life of my spirit." Again, all of Isaiah's words will have a latter-day fulfillment. Is it possible that the servant of Christ, who will be marred by his enemies, will endure similar agony and receive a similar blessing? Is it possible that many people at that time, seeking perfection in Christ, will also endure refining suffering that will also lead to heavenly realms? Great are the words of Isaiah, said the Lord, who wants each of us to enter into the arms of his love. All of this is discussed in greater detail in the book, The Words of Isaiah, which you can find at the website, thewordsofisaiah.com. I'm Curtis Taylor with The Words of Isaiah.